What's up guys? Welcome to your mom's favorite exercise, getting thrusted, the hip thrust. Maybe you're doing these and you're feeling it in your quads or even in your hamstrings, but not in your glutes. Well, then let's go over a few big no-nos that might be keeping your glutes from getting the roundings they deserve. So mistake number one would be doing these. I'm so quirky. Number one is the bench height. Well, you don't want to use the tallest bench when you're only 5 foot or 1.60 meters. And you also don't want to use the lowest box if you're, let's say, 2 meters. So an easy way to find this is by standing next to whatever you want to use and having it just below knee height. Because we're laying with our upper back on the bench and we're bending at the knee, so the knee needs to be slightly above the bench or box. Most of the time there's two issues. Number one, they feel it more in their quads, or number two, they feel it more in their hamstrings. This all comes down to feet placement. If you're putting your feet too far under your legs, you're basically pushing with your toes and you're trying to extend your legs, and that will put more stress on the quads. If you put your feet like this, you're basically pulling your feet on the floor, and that will put a lot of stress. If you're putting your feet like this, you're basically pulling your feet back, and that will put a lot of stress on the hamstrings. That's why we want to get the legs or the knees at a 90-degree angle. And there's a very easy trick for that. I sit against the edge of the bench with my back straight and my legs stretched, and I grab a weight. If you're in the gym with a hole the size of your tight coochie, I can see light through your mouth, and I lay the weight next to my knees. This will roughly put your knees at a 90-degree angle. Now if you're at home and you're doing these single-legged mornings, or you're doing it with a dumbbell, then use whatever you have at home. This is personal trainer Jules. Zit ik aan een personal trainer? Ja. So I use my explanatory rig the stick, sit my feet next to the plate, and now I can hip thrust in peace. Oh fuck. Number three, going too heavy, or using big heavy loads, as your mom would say. The hip thrust is like the bench press for girls, but nobody gives a shit how much you can hip thrust. What people do care about is how big your glutes are. Talking from experience. That's why you follow me, because I have a big ass. Hip thrusts are all about the squeeze. So it basically means if you're only pushing up to here all the time, you're going too heavy. Now if you can't fully squeeze and lock out at the last 3 reps, then that's totally fine. You're doing great. But if you're just loading this one up and you're always just going 80% or 70%, then it's too heavy. You're not getting the results you want. I mean, the stretch is not that deep. If we go all the way down, it's at 90 degrees. The glutes can do way more. So it's not going to come from the stretch, the growth is going to come from the squeeze. So you need to be able to squeeze and fully lock out. I promise you, if you do these between 10 and 25 reps, fully squeezing, you'll feel it way more than being the cool girl in the gym, loading this one up and doing 6 reps. I promise. Number 4. Keeping the back straight or arching. Now some women love arching their back, especially the ones that go on girls trips only. But I keep my back straight. I want all the bend at the hips. And if I bend my lower back, sure, I'll get a little bit more glute stretch, but it's pretty annoying for my lower back. So I flex my abs, lower down, I'll show you in a minute with the bar, and thrust back up. If I want to get more range on my glutes, I can add a step, which might be my next point, to get more deficit. But when it's all about the squeeze, then, you know, do we really want to use the step for more deficit? You know, it's getting a lot easier when you go down, and it's the hardest at the squeeze. So are we really getting anything more by using more deficit? Are you really winning in life when you arch your back Looking at you, I guess not. So let me just quickly undress for you. So, here's how it looks with a bar. I flex my abs. We're not arching the back for Papi Emmanuel from Colombia when you're down in Cabo getting absolutely railed on your girl's trip. I flex my abs, slowly lower down as deep as possible, and now I thrust back up and squeeze my cheeks. I'm not arching my back and then pushing back up. It feels annoying for me. I'm not about it. So I lower down, full rep. Squeeze! And number 5, something I forgot, is how much meat that you need to get on the bench. You know, do you need to get your neck on the bench? Do you need to get your lower back on the bench? I'm just gonna show you what you need to do. We wanna get the shoulder blades on the bench, not the neck, because that's gonna hurt, or sliding over with your lower back. You just want the meaty part on the bench. You wanna be stable. Let's go for some full reps. If you enjoyed this, then fucking subscribe.